All right, today we're jumping in and breaking down the rules for Cardinal. It's this really cool strategic card game that's full of math and clever moves that can just change everything in an instant. So what's so special about Cardinal? Well, pretty much every card you play can actually change the rules of the game itself, not just for you, but for everybody at the table. It's this amazing mix of planning ahead and then having to react on the fly that makes it so much fun. So first things first, what are you actually trying to do in this game? In any given round, how do you win? Okay, so the core idea is pretty straightforward. Each round has a target value, and on your turn, you're going to try to hit that target by playing cards from your hand. This move is called a check, and if you pull it off, you score points. Simple as that. But here's where it gets really fun. This isn't just about adding up numbers. Nope. The face cards and the jokers, they have these powerful abilities that can completely flip a turn on its head. Let's start with the Deacon, which is the Jack. You can think of this card as your personal plus-minus button. Let's say you need to subtract a number to hit your target. No problem. You just play the Deacon first, and it flips the next card's value from positive to negative. It's a simple little trick, but believe me, it is incredibly powerful. Next up, we've got the Bishop or the Queen. This card is basically your key to unlocking extra moves. When you play it, you get to do something called an intercession. You can think of it like a special action that can totally get you out of a bind. We'll get to exactly what those actions are in just a bit. Now, the Cardinal, that's the king. This card is a real heavy hitter. For one, it's got a high value of 13, which is obviously great for hitting targets. But it can also be used to trigger this huge game event that can just shift the entire balance of power in a single move. And then there's the Papal Bull, the Joker. This card is pure, uncut chaos. If this card gets drawn, the game just stops. Everybody has to discard their entire hand, the round's conditions change, and the target value gets reset. It can completely torpedo everyone's strategy in the blink of an eye. So, you're not just playing cards to build up your own score. You can also get in your opponent's way by playing edicts on them. These are basically special rules that are designed to mess with their next turn. Let's take a look at what they do. So here are the main edicts you can play. They range from, being a minor annoyance, like forcing a player to discard a specific card, all the way up to huge strategic plays, like the Bishop's Lock, which can completely wreck an opponent's plan by banning them from playing an entire suit. Okay, but check this out. Here's a really crucial strategic layer you got to remember. Each round has what's called a season, which is just a fancy way of saying one suit, like spades or hearts, is special for that round. If you play an edict card and its suit matches the current season, it acts like a reset button. It wipes out all the other edicts that are currently in play. So it's a super powerful way to free yourself, or maybe help out an ally. All right, so you know the tools now. You've got the power cards, you've got the edicts. So how does this all fit together? What does a single turn actually look like? Your turn is actually broken down into 3 really simple phases. First, you do the check. That's where you play cards to hit that target and try to score. Second, you do the lay. This is your chance to play one of those edicts on an opponent. And finally, you resolve any special game events that might have popped up, and then your turn is over. So hitting your target is obviously great. But how do you actually score points? And what are these surprising events that can show up and just change everything? Okay, so when you make a successful check, you score points using a formula called the tithe. Now, I know it looks a little complicated, but I promise it's way simpler than it seems. You just take the round's value, R, and you subtract the remainder of your hand size when you divide it by 4. So if you have 5 cards left, you divide by 4, the remainder is 1. If you have 4 cards, the remainder is 0. It's a really clever way to reward you for playing your cards efficiently. But, and this is a big but, you have to be careful not to score too well. This game has this awesome built-in catch-up mechanic. If your total score ever goes over 17, it gets knocked all the way back down to 9. So, managing your scoring pace is actually just as important as scoring big. So 2 special events can interrupt the normal flow of the game. First, you have a visitation. This is mandatory, and it's usually bad news. It might force you to pay penance, which really just means you got to discard some cards. But on the flip side, you have an intercession, and this is a good thing. It's an optional action you can earn, either by playing a bishop or by having a specific number of cards in your hand, and it can give you a really powerful advantage. Okay, so theory is one thing, but let's actually walk through a real turn. This is where you'll see all these different rules click together. All right, let's set the scene. It's Alex's turn. The round's value, R, is 6. The target for his check is to play cards where the total value has a remainder of 1 when you divide it by 5. So, a total of 6, or 11, or 26. Any of those would be a success. So, watch how this plays out. For his check, Alex plays a king of diamonds, which is worth 13. Now, because of another game rule, that value gets doubled to 26. The remainder of 26 divided by 5 is 1. Bam! He did it. It's a success. Next, in his lay phase, he plays an edict on Bailey. Then, a random visitation event pops up and forces him to discard a card. But wait, this leaves him with 5 cards, which is one of those special numbers that earns him an intercession. He decides to save it for later. And finally, he scores 5 points for the round. Whew, what a busy turn. And see, the effects of that turn linger. Now it's Bailey's turn, and she's starting out at a huge disadvantage. Thanks to that edict Alex played, she is banned from playing any spade-suited cards when she tries to hit her target. And that is the strategic heart of this game. And really, that's the core of how you play Cardinal. It's this constant tug of war between carefully calculating your own path to victory and cleverly messing with everyone else's. So the real question is, when you sit down to play, are you going to focus on the math or are you going to focus on the mayhem? Thanks for watching.